It's Wednesday and time for Happy Hour with the Hombre. Hello and welcome to this episode of Happy Hour with the Hombre. I'm very excited today because we have some really great guests and I can't wait to talk about mezcal. As you guys know, we've been kind of diving more and more in some of the episodes and with our Mezcal Monday episodes into mezcals. And so I'm very, very, very excited to have El Buho with us today to talk about their mezcal and to talk about their journeys in agave. And with me tonight, I'm going to be sipping on some expressions of theirs. Right now, I'm sipping on their Espadin, which is 45% Espadin. And this is the 1 liter bottle of it. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's really good. But also tonight I'll be sipping on, I have their Tepestate here as well. They have, I have the Quiche here also. And then I have the Habali, which I love a good Habali. So I can't wait to try this one and tell you guys what I get on it. So let's not waste any more time, though. Let's bring in our guests tonight. First, please welcome Gabriel Velasquez. He is the creative director and the agave educator for El Buho, and the co-founder, Redford Parker. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate you guys coming and joining us today to talk about your mezcal, El Buho, and to talk about your agave journeys and your passion. So let's start things off a little bit. Let's start with Redford. Can you tell us a little bit about your mezcal journey and your experience with mezcals and with agave in general?
Yeah, definitely. I guess my agave, experience really started probably in 2000, 2002 time frame. Just started to drink tequila and seeing on a couple trips to Mexico how vast, the label range was on tequila. And fast forward to 2004, I ran into TJ Steele, who's a chef and a friend of mine. And in 2009, he came to me and said, "Hey, I found this stuff called mezcal. The flavors are amazing, and I want to start a company to bring something in." And I said, "Great, let me try it." And from there, I had my first Espadin, and then went down in November of 2010 for a Day of the Dead celebration, and got dropped into Tovala, Tepestate, and some all the full array. And so that's where it began for me. And here we are, I guess, 10, 11 years later, and it's just getting better and better. Kudos to Ron Cooper and the Del Maguey folks for teaching us all that mezcal finds you, because I consider myself found, and it's just been a really fun ride. And today I'm proud to admit that I know as little about mezcal as I've ever known.
Now, just a quick, coming from tequila into mezcal, how did you find that transition for you? Was it something that clicked immediately for you? Was it something that you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is great too? Or did it take some time?
It clicked for me pretty easy, in the sense I had more of a wine background, drinking different reds and whites. But primarily French wines, and then with tequila, it's obviously the Jalisco region. Along the way, in probably 2001, 2002, a friend of mine turned me on to Scotch and started showing me the single malts and the Islay and all this stuff. So when mezcal came around, just the background of terroir and which side of the bank is this wine producer from, and then combined with the production techniques of Scotch, it just all made a lot of sense. It was an easy crossover for me to get into it.
Okay, great. Now, Gabriel, why don't you tell us a little bit about your agave journey and how it started, and what got you to where you're at now?
Okay, I grew up in Mexico City. I've been in the States for 15 years. I am a graphic designer by trade and an educator by reinvention and agave drinker by passion. Uh, Agave started with me probably, I would say, on 2004, 5. Uh, I moved to Philadelphia, and then I met my wife. I got married, and on our 10-year anniversary, we went to Oaxaca, and that is when I reconnected with my mezcal experience. Growing up in Mexico City, mezcal wasn't like it wasn't something that you will drink much. You will drink a lot of rum. You will drink a lot of whiskey if you have the money to pay for it. At some point, tequila started getting a little more refined, and it was something that you will find in like the higher shelves. But it was never about mezcal. Mezcal didn't have that position. So my interaction with this was very late in the game as an adult, and coming to Oaxaca to show my wife the vast part of the culture of Mexico. And we have a exquisite experience with Sandra and Ulises from In Situ, where we were pretty much visit their establishment every night and learn as much as possible. And that's where all this ignited for me. We came back, and we came back with a lot of bottles of In Situ, and we drink them. And one of the things that happened right after is that we designed a copita that I'm holding here, made out of porcelain. And with that, we also remember that there was very little education, very little information. I was going through my master's at that point on education, and we decided to push to get a podcast going called Hey Hey Agave, and that's how I connected with Red. So education, passion, mezcal. Buho comes to my house to do one of the podcasts that we were trying to establish. It was the first one that we were trying to do bilingual. If you go to the website, you have seen that it's not out there because it's very difficult to do a bilingual situation. But what happened right after that is that I had a beautiful collection with the family and a beautiful collection with Redford and TJ. And the friendship started there. And I want to say a few, 2 years later, we reconnect. And I was in a place in life that I needed to reinvent myself once again. And Buho was exactly the place that I needed to be. So all my passions collide: the design, the education, and the passion just for mezcal. So that's pretty much it. How this started, and this has been a beautiful ride for the last year and a half with Buho, reinventing and polishing the beautiful brand that these guys had for the past 10 years, and the interaction with the family for I think the most important part of the element of what the brand is just family relationships.
Well, that's awesome, and I think I think you've been great on Facebook and stuff. I've seen you pop into groups and talking about Buho, and I think that some of the stuff that you've done is awesome, and I think that you've helped me out a lot, learn about this brand, and so
You're welcome.
thank you for that. All right, so we can let either of you guys talk about this. You could kind of tell us a little bit about the history of Buho and where it's gone from where it started to where it is now.
I think this one is on you, Red.
Yeah, I'll just say, I'll take this one.
Yeah.
So TJ Steele is the founder. I consider myself a co-founder. And when TJ came to me and had this idea, I said to him, how the hell did you find this stuff? And he said, well, I went to Mexico to learn to cook farm to table, food, and just kind of explore the different techniques down there. And that's when he stumbled upon mezcal. And, the story I know that TJ asked some folks, where do I get this stuff? And they said, you got to go to Santiago Mazatlan, the world capital of mezcal. And so that was really the launch point. And then if you peel back another layer, this was in the 2007 time frame. when TJ was down there driving around and first linked up with the Jimenez Mendez family. And they are a beautiful family with, mom and dad on top, and then 3 children. Pepe, the oldest, Betty's the middle daughter, and then their youngest son, Octavio, who goes by Luyo for short, because his father's also named Octavio. And originally TJ and Luyo met and kind of talked about doing some stuff. And I think it's a really interesting piece of the story, as we look back, that the Jimenez Mendez family had tried to export mezcal once before in the 2005 timeframe, with a French company, and for whatever reason, it didn't quite work out. So they were kind of primed and ready. Pepe, the oldest child, and Betty, they both went to university and had, an ambition to get a mezcal brand going. And so when TJ went down to find him, the idea was simply to call it 1,000 liters and sell a mezcal de la casa in a restaurant that TJ was going to start. And then 2008, had this whole financial crisis, and the restaurant was derailed, but this family in mezcal was still hot. And so, my first conversation with TJ was late 2009 when we said, all right, let's do this. And so we shipped out from there. And since that time, a tremendous amount has happened, from the boom. Mezcal as an industry produced less than 1 million liters in 2010, 11, 12 timeframe. And today we're at 7 million liters. So we've seen just an incredible trajectory and feel really blessed and fortunate to share the experience with everyone. And it's been a really neat thing to watch the family in Oaxaca grow from one palenque at mom and dad's house when we started. And now the way the brand has grown and kept up with, the increase in demand is by working with the family. They built an additional 3 palenques. Wow. That came on in 2014, 2016, and the final came and fourth came in 2019, right in the end. And then it was literally November type time frame when it was completed. In January, we were starting to get this factory going, and then ran into the COVID wall. But we're really excited that we have this this additional capacity to bring a little bit of the Jimenez Mendez treasure, to the world here.
There's a very important point that Red just mentioned, and I just want to tack in on that. I don't know how many other brands are like this, but we are, I think, one of the very unique ones that has a relationship with one family. A lot of other brands will have multiple mezcaleros in different towns doing different expressions, and the array of flavor profiles are very specific to zones and agaves and methods and all that, the hand of the maker per se too. But we have one of the things that I think, at least on my mezcal experience, caught my eye the most, that is single family with a 10 plus year relationship, with a custom growth, and basically a commitment. It's like this is by far right now a 10-year commitment on a growth on both ways. We're growing as a brand, we're growing of how mezcal is growing as a category, but also we're able to do a lot of things that I don't think multiple brands can do by having too many people on the array of doing business. So this is Buho Mezcal is for all purposes a family business.
So are they exclusively your mezcaleros, your palenques, or
correct
for other brands? Or
they, so in the commercial sense, we're exclusive. We signed papers with them in 2009 and brought them to the Comercam and whatnot. They still do produce mezcal for their community, and have a handful of Oaxacan clients. But there's no other brand in the United States that is legally permitted to have their product, due to the exclusivity. But the reality of the situation is that when we first got down and were working with them, as the growth came on and they started to reinvest and were fully on board with growing their business, it just kind of fell into place. We didn't really discuss it too much. And, we're an import company, so a couple other brands have approached us and said, hey, y'all know how this works. We just want to throw the booze on the truck with you, and, you can import it. And well, I think that's going to maybe complicate our relationship the way it is. And we didn't want to fix anything that wasn't broken. So that's,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, that's great. And I know that a lot of people, mezcal drinkers, are really concerned too that the family that the mezcaleros and stuff are taken care of, and that they're able to make a living and keep their family supported, as well as the community and stuff. And it sounds like you guys are really working with them to do that, which is great, because there's some mezcal brands that take advantage of the mezcaleros and their families and their villages and stuff. So
one of the interesting things that you mentioned right there is again, the commitment of doing business with somebody. You do a business with somebody for a year. Look, how many clients do you actually purchase wine and liquors for more than 5, for more than 6, for more than 8 years, for more than 10? They're very few. Yeah. They're very, very few. And with that comes all kinds of different relationships and pros and cons. Like I'm coming to Buho Mezcal with fresh eyes, because I'm coming just under 2 years right now with them. And they have been in a very specific way of doing business for 10 years. And, the first couple of years, the first year that I'm working with them, I come into a situation that is COVID, that we have to kind of pivot no matter what at that point to do something else. Like my job was supposed to be going out. I'm fairly well connected in the mezcal world in New York, in the restaurant business, and that was gonna be my mission, to go out and talk about Buho in places that haven't been talked, right? But then we got completely shut down, and that opened the possibility to so many things that I don't think neither Red or I were considering part of what I was going to do. So all my design skills, all my photo skills, everything that it was in place already on my side of the business, that I was, doing a podcast, taking photos, doing product shots, all that kind of jazz, turning to creating the full set of these beautiful cards that I actually sent you, Mark. So a full set of cards with all the information that we have for every single of the expressions, with the idea that this were going to be a way of interacting via Zoom. It was going to be a way to, send little tiny bottles in some way or form through a restaurant or through a bar that will collaborate with us and create this kind of business that wasn't present. We finished a book, and I say a book is, probably 20 pages. It's a booklet with really, really cool information about just mezcal itself. Like nothing that we did was, a push to do branding, but by educating and by giving the right kind of information, the brand recognition, not branding, but the brand recognition and who we are and what we stand for was being delivered to the right kind of people that wanted to see it. The Instagram, for example, was a big push. We did the full year was focused on reinventing a little bit of the voice of what the brand is and who the brand wants to talk to. So if you see our Instagram, is mostly shots of production, is mostly shots of the family, is mostly shots of culture of mezcal, not per se Buho culture, but Buho culture for us is the family culture that we have with the brand and the family. So it has been a really, really interesting place to be a part of a brand that has so much. They have so much material to share, but there was not a person or a place yet to do it. And I was very lucky to work with Red and TJ as part of a very creative team that it had allowed to the brand to speak itself, and it was pretty cool. I think Buho Mezcal 2021, 2022 has a very solid expression of who we are and what we do, and just the trajectory with the heritage of the family on 5 generations, training the 6th generation right now as we speak of tiny mezcaleros in Santiago Mazatlán is phenomenal. And the juice is to prove it. All this that I'm talking is because at the end of the day, what you're going to be trying in our brand is a single family that does this job, and it does it very, very good.
Now, it is true. I did receive the packet with the cards, and I was very impressed with the information that's provided stuff on them. And you also sent me the really nice bandana too. So
Yes.
anybody that places an order on Ferment and Still for a bottle of El Buho, we will send you a complete pack of all the expression information cards and the storybook, as well as a El Buho bandana that until we run out of bandanas, and then we'll just include the cards and the storybooks, so you guys can have that. If you order a bottle off Ferment and Still, we'll get it off to you, so you can understand what you're drinking, and if you want to pick up other expressions, we carry pretty much the full line. Now, Gabriel, you have a presentation. Did you want to share that on your screen, or you want me to put it up for you?
If you want to, we can just chat. I think it's. If you have any other questions, we can play on that, and we can do a quick slideshow at the end so people can see it. Otherwise, I'd rather people see us and talk.
Okay, that's no problem. He's got some great. And why don't we talk a little bit about the production and kind of let everybody know how you go about producing El Buho, and as well as sustainability, and what your methodologies is on sustainability, especially with the wild agave expressions that you guys do.
Absolutely. Red, you want to start with this?
I'm going to kind of go high level, Gabo. I'll let you jump into some details here.
Okay, sounds good.
But in general, Mark, I'd say, we're an ancestral mezcal. The family uses
Artisanal.
Artisanal. I'm sorry, did I say ancestral? Artisanal. Artisanal mezcal, not the artisanal mezcal. And we use the copper still, the horse-drawn Tahona. Something that's really unique about our brand, and we have 4 palenques across 5 family members, and one of them is mom and dad, right? So they each have their own unit. But what I've always been fascinated with is that they're within 1,500 feet of each other, all of them. And in fact, 2 of them are in, I don't know, they're literally probably 100 feet, across part of the same complex. But that creates something unique when we have mezcals that are all using essentially the same airborne yeast, although there are some slight variations, right, from 1,500 feet, closer to the stream and away.
Now, as a question for you, now with all those 4 palenques, do each palenque specialize in a certain varietal, or do all of them do all different kinds for you guys and change depending on what needs to be produced?
They all work on Espadin, but the youngest son, Luyo, is, I'm going to call him the Silvestre specialist. He really likes to do the more challenging agave. For instance, the Javali that you're drinking is produced by Luyo, and my impression was that Dad wanted nothing to do with making Javali because of
it foams, right? It foams all over the place in your palenque. It can ruin your palenque if you don't do it right.
Yes, the foam is a big deal. So when the molecule, as I understand, it's called saponin, that is in the Javali maguey. And when they do the fermentation, you can see all this white foam on top, the fermentation. And the next part where it gets really tricky is the heat when you do the distillation to make sure you don't blow it up. But Luyo's our Silvestre specialist. He is one of the few mezcaleros that he'll do a 5 agave blend, and he'll be all excited about the puntas from this one. And he's always down to talk about different production techniques. Now I'm going to go the opposite end within the family is you have mom and dad, and Octavio's a great workhorse. Elsa's the matriarch and really does, I think, a lot of the tastes and final cuts on mezcal. She's got quite a good palate. They are very robust in terms of their capability. We're doing our best as a brand to share as many expressions from the family that we can. I think to date we've probably brought 10 of them to market. But you go to Elsa and Octavio's Palenque, and they might have 15 mezcals there with a focus on Espadín. But they like to do a lot of Espadín quiche blends. We have the Tovala Espadín blend that's been out. They also like to do 3, 4, 5 agave ensembles. And then outside of that, one expression that we've been carrying is the pulquero. And we have a unique relationship with another mezcalero in town that is a pulquero specialist. He does a lot of pulque and knows the plant extremely well. So I think that's a pretty high-level gloss over. Gabo, did I miss anything?
I will add that we have one of the few vegan pechugas, and I know it sounds kind of silly, but this was a recipe with criollo mango from the town, from the area of Oaxaca, and I think is one of the most delicious ones. And I'm saying this just because we run out of pechuga a few months ago, and we are doing it as we speak. Is being distilled.
So what did they put in the pechuga?
The last time there was 400 kilos of criollo mango pulp.
Ooh. Oh.
So it goes on the third distillation, and it's proof. I think it's 48 that they proof. Redford was saying something kind of interesting that is very pertinent to Buho. That is, Elsa does a lot of the proofing, but one of the times that we all follow probably Smoke Agave and all those kind of jazz in Facebook that talks about mezcal and stuff. And there was a question, I think, in Mike G forum that he was asking what is the best ABV, and I didn't want to do much talking in the forum, but I think this is very pertinent. Our maestra mezcalera, prover, persona, matriarca, la jefa of the Palenque, that is Elsa, she likes her mezcal at 48. It's a personal choice. She thinks and likes everything that she has tried at 48. So we go with her on that. Some of the stuff that we have done is at 50, 52, I think 53 is the highest one that we have. That is the latest. That is one of the Arroqueños that we put out last year. And this was a batch from 2017 too. So one of the other things that is important to say about Buho Mezcal is that most of the varieties that you would see in the market from us, they were not expressly made for the market. It's something that, as we have the relationship with Jimenez Mendez, and they will acquire agave, and this is an important part of the story of the Jimenez Mendez family. This is a family that has been doing business and mezcal since 1880, as they recollect time. And one of the things that they have built is this giant network of maguilleros and mezcaleros, friends and family. I will say that we have a radius of like probably 50 kilometers, 30 miles around Santiago Matatlan. And those are, if you see the map of that, and I think, you know what, I'm going to take your word, and I'm going to open that map that we were talking, just because it's going to make much sense to share it.
While you do that, Gabo, Mark, I do want to, I'll address the sustainability question. We're doing our best to understand exactly what that word means. And what we did, I think, probably fairly early, at least in the brand history, in 2014, as we started looking for land to plant more maguey. The family we work with has 3 fields they manage. This is the field we ultimately were able to find and start developing to go sustainable. And I want to share with the group here that the CRM, the Comercam, Consejo, they are getting a lot more diligent and really diving a little bit deeper into the layers. So the Tepestate you're drinking we had a lot of interactions with CRM just to show them in this little greenhouse Gabo has up there. We're planting as many little tepestate as possible. We've transplanted 4 or 5 of them at this point up into the hills. And we've got a couple hundred more that we plan on transplanting into the natural environment that you see here. In addition, though, we do cultivate espadín in the rows there. And the family, to give you an idea of the relationship, we have, when we searched for land, we found a property in Diaz Ordaz, which is in Tlacolula, and every single family member came out to the field to check it out, to walk the ground, to assess whether or not this was a good idea, bad idea. It's all hands on deck. And then subsequently, the family went out and they purchased an additional 2 plots of land where they're going to be planting more maguey. So that is on the front end of sustainability, and something on the back end of sustainability. We're really looking at all angles we could influence, our footprint. And so I don't want to speak prematurely, but, we're investigating how we could use recycled glass, for instance, on the back end, post-consumption.
Yep.
I think that's a big piece of sustainability as well. We try and source everything in Oaxaca. That's a big focus, where we try and get everything produced down there, lower the carbon footprint. Their glass maker is in Mexico City, the cap maker, Mexico City, box maker, Mexico City. We don't go to China, we don't go to Europe. Just try and stay as local as we can and focus on, again, the front end of sustainability and the back end.
That has been a huge challenge, and I think as this year started, and we got vaccinated and we feel comfortable and we were able to do some traveling. We just came back from Mexico, and I was able to visit the glass maker and the decoration. The two persons that we recently contacted. These are very new developments from the end of the year last year and the beginning of this year. So it has been fascinating to be able to recognize that we can make everything in Mexico. Like we can leave the money that allows for this to keep on growing and allowing that, the sustainability. I was talking to Ray a couple of weeks ago that I figure out there's a very important difference in linguistics in Spanish and English. And there is a word called sostenible, sostenible, and it's more about the way that you can support a business, the physical changes and activities that you will do to support something and make it sustainable. That the sustainability is more about the concept of being sostenible. And then I tried to figure out in English, and the only word that exists in English is sustainability. So that kind of like melts the two ideas, but I find it fascinating that there was a physical part and a conceptual part of this method. And with this, like if you try to talk about mezcal, then it gets very interesting, right? Because then, all your conceptual part of how you're going to make this sustainable and all the actions that you're going to have to do in order to make this concept work, they're not necessarily the same actions. So it has been an interesting challenge just to be able to see that as part of a different way of working.
Well, I know some mezcal people that enjoy, and mezcal drinkers that try to tell people too to focus on the espadín, since that's the one cultivated, farmed and easily sustainable agave. And espadín is very good, and it's the most used agave in mezcal. But I think that some of the wild agave do offer some really interesting flavors. I personally really have grown to love jabalí. I mean, I think it's an amazing agave varietal, and some of the expressions I've tried from some of the mezcaleros out there have been very good, where I really enjoy it. I have to say, I've been sipping on your Espadin here, and I know a lot of the viewers that I have here are tequila drinkers, and have always wondered, well, what can I try as far as mezcals go that aren't going to be overly smoky, because I think it takes a little while for people's palate sometimes to acclimate to the smoke part. And I think that this Espadin is very good. I have been thoroughly enjoying it. I really pick up a lot of the fruit flavors and stuff coming through from the Espadin. Very little to no smoke at all. I've been thoroughly enjoying this, and I think that this would be a great entry point into your brand for those coming from tequila that aren't quite used to the smoke aspect of it.
You know, the roast part of it, and I would say also the sugar content that will translate in some sort of caramel notes in most of the agave flavors. I will personally, if somebody that I know and is like, oh, I don't want this, it's too smoky, I will immediately go to the quiche. And the quiche, just because it has such a much mineral notes, drier, and it has like, for me, I think is not as sweet than the Espadin per se it is. So if somebody's trying to avoid that char, smoke, brisket idea, because it's also the content on what you have been eating the last 10 years of your life that will determine what kind of palate you have.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the quiche.
While you do that, Mark, I want to backfill on the sustainability, because I failed to mention perhaps the most important element, which is our colleague Lorena Tirani Barra. She lives down in Oaxaca, and I'd be remiss to not tie her into your first question about my agave journey. TJ and I went to Oaxaca in 2011. We had dinner at Pitiona, and Lorena was our server, and she just blew our mind with how wildly vast and deep the mezcal world could go. So we tried the bullhide fermentations. We tried banana Laffy Taffy tepastates with these crazy banana flavors coming out of it. We had some Largo. We did quiche, mexicanos. She just took us around Oaxaca and showed us how contrasting, one mezcalero's Espadin could be with another one's, etc. So we've been very fortunate to develop a friendship with her. TJ and I immediately fell in love, and we're like, we have to be friends, all this stuff that we'd love to learn about. And luckily, we were able to bring her on board a couple of years ago, and she's devoted full-time to managing that property Galo showed the picture of. And in the regards to the Javali, we have a lot of Javali, baby maguey that we have in the little trays. And for a while, a year ago, they were growing, but slow, and they all had this purplish color. And if anyone knows why they get purplish, I'd love to learn more about that. But Lorena and I have been talking about how to nurse these things back to health, and she's figured out that they needed just a little more nutrients and a little more water. We thought they might need less water, but they needed more. And these things have been flourishing and are now growing up and might be 4 or 5 inches high at this point. But we're happy to report we've been able to cultivate these Javali. We've been able to cultivate some Tobola, some quiche, Madre quiche, and we're working on the tepastates. All with our intention is, if we have enough space, we're going to transplant these things all back into the native fauna behind a rock or in the shade a little bit.
Mark, would you mind putting the screen on the presentation? I just want to show something really quick. So this, I'm gonna go fairly fast on the slides because there's no need to have it all there. But this is day one literally day one that they were transplanting some hijuelos from the Jimenez Mendez family field to Copita field. This is how it looked. There was nothing. It was dry season, so it looked more drastic in per se. So this is a very drastic before and after of, you have the greenhouse on the back. You can see the fields. These are by now, I think 4 or 5 years, right, Red? Espadines, and they're still growing. So you see the little, there's a little difference on size. One of the important parts of Copita field is that this area that is the center that is flat is somewhere around the 30% of the field size, and that is the only part that is flattened and clean to make espadín cultivation. Everything else that is around it, that is the 70% of the hills that you see around it, we're allowing it to grow naturally, and we're actually doing semi-cultivation. So whatever the tobalas that you will see in a second that comes from the greenhouse are gonna be able to grow in the hillsides. So these photos are from 2 weeks ago. So this is how it looks right now. If you see the water, the sand is super, super wet. We have 2 full days of like torrential rain, and it was nearly impossible to get to the field. It was kind of funny. This is how drastic Oaxaca goes from one season to another. And it's just fascinating to see how these plants are so resilient for so many months of no water at all, and then suddenly they start growing. Again, dry season, wet season, and going out, finding what quiotes have been growing around in the field and in the mountain hills, and we go out, we harvest the seeds. This was a year ago. These are the tiny little pots where you find the seeds. Most of these ones, sometimes you see them all white, sometimes you see them all black, and that will tell you which ones are fertile and being able to grow from seed. These are the tiny little guys popping out in the trays inside the greenhouse. First leaf, you can actually see on the right side of the screen the tiny little seed pod that is still attached to the leaf. We tried.
These are planted from seeds, not from huelos?
Yes, these are all from seeds.
Okay.
The agave espadín that is on the field, no, there are most of them from hijuelos. These are the ones that we have been starting. This we are in year 3 of this project. So, year 1, year 2, you cannot see much to prove it. But now year 3, you can see all these little guys being able, finding the more natural ways. This is a bacterial bath that Lorena is doing. Lorena is here. Ponyo, his son, is right here with her. They work together in the field most of the time. Ponyo is pretty amazing. And they're doing a bacterial bath so they can actually avoid being eaten by a pest that has been killing a lot of agaves in Oaxaca called picudo. That is a beetle that drills a hole all the way in, leaves the larva, and the larva basically eats the
Gabriel?
core. Yep.
Just to interrupt you, we're only seeing one picture from your presentation on the screen. We're not seeing it scroll through.
Oh.
So there you need to Can you change it from there?
Yeah, I will do it. Give me a second. Is this the one that you're seeing?
We were just seeing them planting the espadín. There you go.
Okay. Sorry. So I was going on and on.
It's okay.
So rewind. Day 1, 3 years later, rows of espadines growing into the area, the greenhouse on the back. 30%, 70% of wild agave letting doing its own things. We have tobalas, we have tepestates, that it was a recent addition to the mountain. We save a tepestate that somebody had in a place that was not growing. We put it attached to a stone, literally a stone, and the plant is happy. I will report in a year once it's settled and happy, and we'll bring some photos. The stone that you see on the back on the bottom right photo is called Jagul area, and this is, if you put it on Google, is YAGUL, Jagul, And this is one of probably most important archaeological sites that not many people put attention on. There's a lot of research and a lot of important things. They have very old cave paintings. That is one of the most important parts. But what I'm trying to say is this is an area that has been inhabited by Zapoteco culture for many years. Rainy season versus dry season that I was telling you. Mm-hmm. Same way, it's fascinating. Like, this is a photo with 2 years in between, and you can see the decay, but not really completely disappearing from the photo. The photo looks pretty much the same. It's pretty fascinating. I was ecstatic when I was walking around doing the photographs, and I was like, this is just fascinating to see how slow time passes when humans don't touch things.
So I have a question for you, Gabriel. How much of the field do they allow to go to Quixote?
All of it.
For their agave, all of it?
All of it. We're not harvesting to do mezcal. We're just letting the field recuperate. To be all honest, the whole area was so damaged. The land was so damaged for many, and neglected, not damaged, neglected for so many years, that it has been just this year that I have been able to see, advances that is like, oh, now, okay, the field is breathing, the field is going back. Lorena, that is this amazing lady that has been putting all her efforts to just recoup and help nurture the land. We are not cutting anything. We're letting anything go to Quixote. We're harvesting whatever we need. We don't, once you harvest, 1 or 2 tobalas, you have a couple of thousand seeds. Yeah. And our greenhouse is pretty big, but we don't need all the quiotes. So a lot of these quiotes are also food for the local fauna. So you have to let the plant do full circle and being able to go back. The one quiote that you see behind our friend Chris is one of the few that we went and pick up and try and bring it back to when it was a smaller plant and finished flourishing. And funny enough, this Aliova, that is a hybrid that it was probably 3 years ago, that it was considered a new species. Coyote is the other name that you will hear. But this plant, even that it has all the possibilities to be fertile, we didn't have any viable seeds. So the plant just goes up, feeds the plants, and animals go up and eat the leaves and eat the flowers and do the whole life cycle, and it's just part of it. We don't need to harvest every single thing. We have enough. We have plenty. It allows to grow the bacteria at the same time the agave is growing, and not letting the picudo go in and leave the larva inside. So it's kind of like a bacterial organic shield that is working pretty well in the field. We were having a lot of trouble with the picudo eating a lot of the espadins in the field.
Gabriel, you want to translate the picudo?
Picudo is a pointy scarabajo, a pointy crab, not crab. How do you call this? Them. Beetle. A pointy. It's a beetle that looks like a rhinoceros.
Oh, a beetle. Oh, okay.
Yes, it has this center tiny little spine that basically burrows the agave and goes all the way in, drops the larva, comes out, and then the larva, when it hatches, eats the center of the agave, destroying your plant.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it's a big problem. But it's you were talking about the sustainability of espadin, and it's a very interesting point to have a sustainable crop to do a product, but with the monoculture we create a bigger problem. So Copita Field is also trying its best to do reforestation with natural habitat plants. So all these trees that you see here, they're trees that we have been putting around in the field and doing some, Lorena doing the thorough research of what trees are gonna go in the field that belong there. This is a plant that should have been there, is not longer there. Everything has been cut to either burn or cook or built. So if you see the photos, these are baby trees that we're trying to, bring back to nature.
And I know biodiversity is a big part of it too, right? You don't want to
It's
keep
huge.
using, huelos from, and keeping the same gene pool, populating the whole fields. But by going to Quixote and seeds, you're actually increasing the biodiversity of the fields and can actually, maintain the strength of the espadín. So it's resistant to
Yes.
parasites and fungus and bugs. And
This year was the first year that Lorena was able to find some espadín seeds, and we're doing from tray to, the whole image that I have been showing. It was mostly tobalas and some jabalís, but all the things that you see right now, these are the hijuelos from hijuelos, and a few from seed on the back that we just started. We do milpa, and this is an important process to mention. That is, growing corn, squash, and beans in between the agaves for the first probably 3-4 years before the plants get too big. When they grow big, the agave plants basically interlock in the middle of the channels that you will see, and there's no longer more using the milpa as a system. But for now, for those first 3 years, you're allowing the growth of the corn and the beans and the squashes to nurture new organic material back into the land. And we harvest. The first time that we did this, we harvest no corn. That's how depleted the land was. The last 2 years has been maybe a couple of cobs. This year, we're hoping to have a much stronger lead, because Lorena has been doing, a few tons of organic material from the markets that are around the area, and bringing them and just doing a ginormous compost, and just feeding the ground with the right kind of stuff. And the other thing that is super important that people won't think about it, but is equally as crucial, is the fauna that is actually beneficial. These guys are constantly moving stuff. These guys, and saying the ants and the other kind of beetles that they're not eating the plants, and the other kind of spiders that they're usually in the tobalas that you will see, birds, rabbits, foxes, smaller and slightly bigger cats, that they're all around the area, are so important as part of the biodiversity and moving stuff around. So I think this is the most important challenge that we have. Making juice, finding the network of agave and mezcaleros is there. The family knows, for 5 generations, amazing work. So this, I think, for us as the American counterpart and the people that is doing business in another country, this is by far the most amazing challenge, to be able to bring this whole concept of bringing the land back into a healthy part.
yeah, that's awesome. You don't hear of too many mezcal brands doing stuff like this, which I think is fantastic and really sets you guys apart from the competition and other people that are producing mezcals. Now, I did try the quiche, and I have to say it is very good. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's got a lot more earthy tones to it than the espadín does. The espadín's more on the fruity side.
Yes.
But I like the combination of the earthy tones mixed with the fruit on that, and it's got a little bit of a minerality to it too that I really liked. So
you say that you have the jabalí, right? That by far, I think,
I'll pour that one right now.
by far probably is my most favorite in time of, if I know that I'm gonna be home and I'm gonna have 2 or 3 sips of something. I'm gonna have 3 copitas during the night, doing either reading a book or watching a movie or doing something that I enjoy. This is the go-to. It's such an elegant texture and smell, and just the way that the texture and the aftertaste of the jabalí is by far my favorite from the lineup.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Super velvety on the mouthfeel and stuff on it.
Yep.
And it's got
You're drinking a 2018 Javali besides. So it's funny because, when the whole bang of mezcal happened, everybody was like, oh, my mezcal is from this time and my mezcal is from that time. And, I started working with Red and TJ in the Buho family. And I started doing my research, a deep dive into the brand and trying to understand where I was stepping in. And I was like, you guys, like, you have things from 2016, and nobody's doing any advertisement, neither branding about it. But it is, So there's a Quiche that is 2016, the Tempestate is 2016, the Javali is 2018, the Ensemble is 2018, Tobalá Espatin is 2017. So when I mention all these numbers, is because there is an important element of resting in glass that is some sort of a debate and some sort of depending who you're talking, you're gonna get different answers. But resting in glass, mezcal is a very violent distillation. It comes out very hot, comes out very the molecules are not settled, and once you have a mezcal set up in glass for at least a year, I will say the Tobalá Espadín is probably the perfect example. When it came out, it was a debate if we were gonna use it.
I ordered the Tobalá Espadín. I'm waiting for that to show up. So
yeah,
I don't have that with me. But this is the Tempestate, which smells fantastic.
Yep. That's
oh, wow.
that's the Tempestate face.
Oh, I love this. This is great. Yeah.
Now, so that puppy was sitting in stainless steel tank for 20 months prior getting bottled in 2016.
So is this Berta's? Is this the 48% Berta edition or?
Nope. This is This is an Elsa edition.
Elsa edition. Elsa's the 48%er. Okay. Because I know that the Javali is 50%.
50. Yeah.
And it doesn't taste like 50%. The Javali to me can be dangerous because it comes across as like maybe a 40, 44, 45%. It doesn't taste like a 50%. And I think I could easily go into a coma drinking that. It was so easy to sip.
It will pull you in a happy coma. Don't worry about it.
Well, that's the only kind of coma you can get from drinking agave, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's an important thing to mention for our friends that they're not connected to the mezcal or tequila whirling this kind. Agave has a different kind of sugar. Therefore, the way that your body will process that sugar is not like when you're drinking a rum or when you're drinking a vodka or when you're drinking any other liquid. Like this is the number one definition of agave distillates. Like you're drinking the plant. You're not drinking a fruit. You're not drinking a part of it. You're drinking the core body of these plants.
That's what I try to tell people, with the tequila, people like to put their tequila and stuff on ice. And I try to tell people, look, these agaves, they took 6 to 8 years to get to this. And you want to chill down what they produced and mute it with ice. And no, you've got to understand all the stuff. These things went through the night where it got cold and freezing temperatures in the wintertime. They went through droughts. They went through all kinds of things, fighting for life to provide this flavor for you guys. And you need to drink it neat to understand what characteristics this thing developed in the 8 years, 10 years, and with stuff like Tempestate and stuff, it could go as much as 20 something years on some of these before they pull them out of the ground. And you want to be able to experience what this agave went through in its lifetime, because that's what's going to be present in it when it's presented to you in a mezcal.
Yeah, terroir wise, we're extremely lucky to have to work to with the Jimenez Mendez family. Like their network of connections to the right people to get the right agave at the right time is pretty fascinating. The tepestate that you're drinking is from Santa Maria Soquitlan, and if you look around on the bottles that you sell in the shop, you will see that most of the refined 130, 150, $200 tepestates are from this area. So Santa Maria Soquitlan is a fairly famous area for tepestates, jabalís. I think Tobala also a little bit, but tepestates jabalí is the most that I have seen. And also, I think our quiche selection is from San Pablo, Huixtepec, and is closer to Mihuatlan. So you have a very specific plant profile that comes from those areas, and mix that plant profile with the beautiful, amazing mastery of the Jimenez Mendez making mezcal, and I think that's why we have never been pushed to find anybody else to work with. To be all honest, like seeing if you have something that works and the communication connects and the family interaction is with the highest respect. We were just there 2 weeks ago, and I requested that I wanted to spend the night in Matatlan. And I wanted to spend the night in Matatlan because I think that was the only way that it was going to solidify the understanding that I'm part of their family.
Uh-huh.
I'm Mexican. I grew up going to my cousin's house. I grew up going to my grandmother's house. And being allowed to stay in somebody else's house was such a privilege of being part of a family. So I was like, let's attempt this the way that I can communicate that I'm very much Mexican.
Well, that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed with my experiences with people in Mexico. I travel there quite a bit. On the tequila side, I haven't quite made it down to Oaxaca or into any of the other mezcal producing regions, but I find that when you're passionate about what they're doing and stuff, they welcome you into their house and you become part of their family. I've been invited to weddings of people that I know from some of the distilleries, and
like a 3-day wedding.
What's that?
A 3-day wedding or 4-day wedding?
It's a drunk fest. It's incredible the way the weddings happen there. It's a party. It's a hardcore with fireworks and everything.
Yeah.
We had a blast. And when they come here to the U.S., of course, my home is always open to them, and the relationships that I've built with people in Mexico is incredible. I love the culture, I love the people, and I love everything that it stands for. And that also helps me, embrace these spirits even more and really enjoy the culture, history, and traditions and stuff behind these spirits.
It's one of those really interesting thoughts. Before working with Red and TJ, we got approached many times with like, can you help us create a mezcal bank? What can we do? What do we need? And my first response, and probably the only one right after, because they didn't want to hear anything else, is like, you need to go and become part of the family. You cannot do business in Mexico without a solid friendship.
Yes.
Solid, not I know you, solid friendship. Otherwise, you're just one more person from outside a country trying to just go and get some booze by, it's fine. It's fine. There's business for everybody, but you can't just go in pretending that you're just going to buy a product, because it's not a product. It's part of a culture.
Right. And the more you give, the more passion you show, the more they embrace you, which is one thing that I really enjoyed.
Well, they understand that you're doing the right thing. You see Red and TJ going down to Oaxaca, and the first thing that Octavio says, "Mijo, how are you?" Done.
Oh, yeah.
Done. That's as intimate that you will go. And this is a gentleman that is, he's Don Octavio. He's the chief. He's the boss. He is the one in charge of the land, and he's in charge of the people working. Like he's that persona that is above the whole operation, the physical operation. And we come in, and he's a puddle of love. And it's amazing to see that dichotomy of having a close family relationship for 10 years and coming to the States like, well, you guys are all about the branding. And I just laugh. Like, I don't even, when somebody has that opinion about what we do in Buho, like, well, you need to do your research, because if you scratch a tiny bit, and especially now that, year and a half that I've been very, very front running, trying to push this narrative that nobody knew for the past 5-6 years. I knew it, but I was so mad with Red and TJ at the beginning, like how nobody knows about this. Like, this is an amazing enterprise, Mexican American fusion, family, respect. It's so amazing.
I want to drop one thing into that real quick. TJ's and Elsa are amazing chefs, and food is very much at the core of what we all love as well.
Yeah.
And it just really fits into the whole familial aspect.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you guys are the first guys that the first guests that I've ever had that filled up the complete hour with information. So let's take some time now to address some questions from some of our guests.
You got it.
I want to tell you, the information you provided has been amazing. It's awesome. And I've been enjoying your mezcal, and I have to say I am super impressed. There hasn't been many brands where every expression I tasted, I've just been like, wow, this is really good. I can't wait to get the other ones I've ordered, and I'm waiting for them to come in. So I'm going to keep the full line and I'm going to sip on them and enjoy. And I know when people that know me know that I'm excited about something, I blast it about it all the time. So I know that you guys that are watching that know me will know that I'll be talking about this all the time. So let's address some questions from some of our viewers. So JP wants to know, when it comes to taste, what do you guys focus on? Are there any signature flavors in El Buho?
Gabo, I'll jump on this one first.
Go for it.
We believe firmly that the taste is a very personal experience, as Gabo's referenced a couple times. But for me, for Red, I know the El Buho signature espadín. I get this light vanilla salted caramel flavor profile, and that roast of the agave, that's always a big signature. Can we get the agave flavor to the front? Where is that lurking in the profile? So that is, I think, at least from me, what I think of the signature. A lot of the mezcaleros have these signatures when they make distillates. And I get that nice balanced spirit, again with the hint of vanilla, and then that salted caramel with a slight ancho chili on the espadín. Gabo, I'm curious what you think.
Day one and not just because I have access to it, but I have been drinking espadín pretty much for the past 2 years with Red. I love espadín in all the ways. We did a giant push to finally this year you will see across the whole platform 45%, and that was a personal push that I wanted to do with them.
I noticed a big difference between the 45 versus the older version too. I noticed a big difference because I do have a bottle of the older expression, and I like the 45% better.
That's when you ask me what is the favorite profile that I like, that that espadín that is robust, that every single note is in your face and not lurking. Like, you feel the chocolate, you feel the char agave, you understand that it's a slightly higher alcohol proof. So the vapors of the alcohol itself while you're drinking, and the aftertaste that leaves in kind of like the painted aroma of agave that gets into your mouth, I think is the best expression to say it. Is you finish drinking and you still has this very specific texture that is like, oh, but I don't have any more liquid. What is this happening? And it's like it's such a specific thing that happens with well-produced espadín. La Medida Mezcal has one that is absolutely fascinating. That same aftertaste. Our friends from Medida and Nete Spirit has a bunch of different kind of mix match Espadin Karwinskis, but I think this is by far on the Espadin side. That the Karwinski that we have, the Quiche that we have is probably also my other favorite, and it's just because they're two extremes of agave flavor profiles for me.
I think so far from all the ones that I've tasted, the Espadin and the Jabali are my favorites.
Yeah.
Because the Espadin is really good, and I noticed a big difference between the 45% and the older version.
43, yeah.
The 43%, and I know that somebody had told me too that they heard that the 43% was more of a mixer, and they wanted to know if the 45 was a sipper. It's definitely a sipper. I'm not one to make cocktails with my agave spirits.
Yeah.
I normally sip neat, in my Denver and Lightly agave glass. If you watch my videos, It's not a copita, I know. So, but
nobody's perfect. We can fix that.
Yeah, I need to get some copitas. I don't have any, but the Denver and Lightly agave glass is the one that I use, and I've enjoyed the Espadin, and I've enjoyed the Jabali. The Tepestate was probably my third, and the Quiche is right in there, tied probably for third, because it's very good. They're all very good. None of them are bad.
Depends also what are you going to be doing. Like we have done this experiment at Claro with TJ, where we did eight different varieties with 8 different plates, and everything was equally as exciting. That was the thing. The food and the drink did the magic together in a way that you couldn't say, "Oh, this is my favorite." No, like everything had these high notes and beautiful tones that I will say find the right food, pair it properly, or if you're gonna sip it, make sure that you have a clean palate just to enjoy the first couple of sips, and then start playing with food and do some food pairings with mezcal.
We all know that the perfect food is tacos, right? I mean, that's
yes.
If you come to visit to New York, we will go and visit TJ, and he does the most amazing badass mole negro.
I will reach out to you next time I'm heading to New York, and let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right. So Eric wants to know, very much enjoyed the El Buho Espadin. Can you talk about plans for distribution expansion? How many states are you in?
Great. I'll take that one. Currently, we're in 25 states in the U.S. We started out in Brooklyn, New York, and that became our home state. And at this point, I do want to mention something, because in the realm of mezcal, it's been very important for us as a brand, and something that myself, the whole team, marches to the pace of con calma. So I mention this because when we started, having some development and uptick in 2012, 13, 14, we didn't just go out and flip the switch and do a 10x production and sell everywhere. And we've been very deliberate, very slow. Our expansion plans are very simple. We go where we're invited, not, we don't muscle our way in anywhere. And we're very excited this year. We just launched California with Weinbo Fine Wine and Spirits.
Yes,
so that was huge. But it's the biggest agave market, and we purposely weren't out there for a couple of reasons. One, we started in New York, we're East Coast, all the inventories and out there. And then as we started to work with restaurants, we had some really loyal customers that started following us. And a lot of them started, the first year they sold 3 cases of mezcal. Next year they sold 20. And then they started selling 50 and 100. And we're going, holy shit. Pardon the French, but it's like, holy cow, this is, how are we going to support this going forward? So we took a really slow, deliberate approach to getting into new markets. We're only sold in the United States under the El Buho brand. We're most likely going to launch in Mexico. With any luck, by the end of the year. We've been working on our brand there for almost 4 years, but we've been contesting the right to use the name El Buho because there's an El Buho tequila, which you may know.
Yes.
And so we haven't been able to come to an agreement with that group. about how we can use the name and vice versa. So Mexico will be probably, hopefully, our first international expansion, even though it's domestic for mezcal.
And just so everybody knows, we do in my online store, Ferment and Still, we do carry just about every expression of El Buho, without the H is silent. Just
Buho.
us gringos, we keep seeing Buho, but it's Buho. And I have to shake the gringo sometimes when I talk to my Spanish friends. But El Buho.
We've got a bunch more expressions that we're going to come out with that we're really excited to share with everyone. The whole process, like I said, con calma, it's just a slow, organic trajectory that we've been on. In terms of future states, we get inquiries from folks from time to time, and if we can find the right partnership, we're happy to work on it and devote the time. Mostly, it's about managing expectations. And in mezcal, I learned very quickly that no hay maguey, no hay mezcal. And from that standpoint, we've been very conscientious about working with organic growth in markets, just as mezcal keeps growing. In these seeds we've planted, these markets all grow. And we will not embark on a mission to just produce as much as we can sell. We're going to produce what the family and the land, give us, and we can do sustainably. And so that's our trajectory.
Awesome. Well, Zenga TV says this is freaking cool. I agree, it is. And these guys have been great. So Redford and Gabriel, thank you so much for embellishing us with your wisdom. Okay, so JP wants to say, can you guys talk about the benefits of using Blue Weber agave and what pushed you towards mezcal?
I don't think we are the right persons to talk about Blue Weber agave because we do not use it. That is exclusively for tequila in tequila region. I have seen Blue Weber in Oaxaca, and that's a whole different conversation that we're not gonna even go there. And the farming that has been developed in tequila, of course, it benefits in Oaxaca in certain way or form of just how to keep a healthy crop going. But other than that, I'm not a specialist on that at all.
A lot of people don't know is that Espadin is actually, Angustifolia is actually a cousin of the Weber Blue of the Tequiliana agave. So they're related, they're close, and
you can make mezcal blue, and there's a few brands, specifically in Michoacán, that use Blue Weber for their mezcal. It's La Luna Mezcal, I think, has a Tequilana Chava. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually prefer Espadin in mezcal over Tequiliana personally, but that was JP's question. So JP says, I love how involved these guys are in their product. Thanks, guys. I'll be ordering a bottle ASAP, which is great. We'd love to hear that.
JP needs a bandana, for sure.
Well, if JP orders a bottle of Ferment and Still, he will get a bandana.
Let's do this. If anybody orders the full set, I will personally send you a T-shirt.
There you go. Order the full set. I'll put the website up here. Ferment and Still. We've got the expressions that we have we have the Espadin, the 1 liter Espadin, the 90 proof. We have the Jabali, the Tepestate, the Quiche, the Tobala Espadin. We have the Ensemble, and we have the Polquiero.
Polquero, yeah. And I'll just mention this on the call that the Polquero, that's the last of that batch that I think you've got your hands on, Mark. We're making some more, but there will probably be a little gap until we're able to get more Polquero in market. The Mango Pachuga hopefully will show up by fall time. The mango season just happened, so they've harvested the mangoes they have at the distillery, and we're going through the process now.
Oh, awesome. Wineboat contacted me and said, hey, we have the full line of Buho. What do you want? And I said, give us, some of everything. So we took whatever they had.
That's
Beautiful.
amazing.
Thank you, Mark.
So
Thank
we
you.
have it in stock, you guys, and it'll ship quickly. You ferment and still. I'll put the you see our new store here, ferment and still. I'm one of the managing partners of it, so I help dictate what we get. And when Weinbo contacted me and said we're getting El Buho, I said give us some of everything. So we have it in stock now. It'll ship quickly, and then if you do place an order for all of them, I will make sure that Gabriel fulfills his promise of getting you a t-shirt. I have a t-shirt. They sent me one and it's fantastic. It's awesome. I love it. I wasn't going to give it to anybody else. I wasn't even going to say anything about the t-shirt until Gabriel just did. But I will send you also a bandana, the El Buho bandanas. I've got 7 of them. Maybe Gabriel, could you send me some more if we get some more orders?
Sure, absolutely.
And then so we can do some more if you guys place more orders. And then I've got the information cards, which are fantastic, that tell you about the production of each different expression. And if you just purchase one bottle or whatever, I'll include all of them in there so you guys can learn about all the different expressions they have, as well as a booklet with their story. Okay, so Ferment and Still, the website address is on the screen right now. If you place your orders, I will get those off to you personally. I will make sure that you get them. And if you don't get them, message me and I'll make sure that you do. Okay, I'm that kind of person. I stick by my promises. Gabriel, Redford, thank you so much for taking your time to come and share your amazing agave spirits with us. I appreciate it so much. It means so much to me that you took your time out of your day. I know you guys are busy people, to share this with us. If we have any future questions that come across, is it okay if I message you to get the answers for our viewers?
I am behind the Instagram and the handle is in my name on the screen. So just follow El Buho Mezcal, and anything that you have question related, taste related, anything that you need, just send me a direct message through the Instagram and that will do it.
Well, and Gabriel can also join my group Tequila Talk and Mezcal too on Facebook. And you guys that are members, which a lot of you are members already of the group, when he joins, I'll make sure that he gets your questions get directed to him so he can answer them for you.
Perfect.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much again. I appreciate your time, Redford and Gabriel. And Gabriel, I know I'll see you on Facebook. I see you guys. I've seen you several times and we've messaged each other. But like I always say, life is too short to drink bad mezcal, right?
Amen.
So get the good stuff. El Buho's there.
Saludcita, brother.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.